All right, how's it going? Wait a couple more seconds and then we'll get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If you're in my Patreon, the sheet for the PDF for the A minor arpeggio study is attached in my Patreon. All right, if not, try to figure it out by ear or join my Patreon. It's only $5 a month. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is I have this arpeggio study that I teach my students. And I wanted to run through it with everybody on social media and definitely teach it to my patrons also. But basically, let's start with the theory behind arpeggios. What are arpeggios? Arpeggios are when you're playing the chord tones, you're outlining a chord and you're playing the chord tones as single notes. Now, you can arpeggiate chords like, if you're playing rhythm, you can also pick it, like that. So that's arpeggiating. But what I'm talking about is more like this is an A minor arpeggio, a root form A minor. Right? There's all your chord tones for A minor at the fifth position. Now, what do arpeggios do? First off, they build technique, they build more finger strength. But every single one of these notes are notes that you would resolve into if you're playing over that chord. So it helps you organize all the home bass notes, the notes you would resolve into. So for instance, A minor, like here's three notes right here that you can resolve into. Just like that. Or so it helps you stay in the tonality of whatever chord you're trying to play over. Now, what is the formula for a chord in an arpeggio? 1, 3, 5. Now, what does that mean? What's the difference between major and minor and also dominant, even though right now dominant is like an A7 chord, G7 chord. That's a 4-note chord, 1, 3, 5, 7. Right now we're doing 1, 3, 5, so triads. So a major triad has 2 whole steps between the 1 and the 3. 2 whole steps. 1 whole step is 2 frets if you want to relate it to the guitar. So if you have a C, a whole step would be D. And then another whole step would be E. All right? If there's 2 whole steps between the 1 and the 3, then it's a major chord. If there's 1.5 steps between the 1 and the 3, it's a minor chord. Same thing with arpeggios. Like a C major arpeggio is going to be C, E, G, just like this. So notice here, you've got that little triad resolving right into those chord tones. Right back into that C. Right? So, the formula for an arpeggio is also 1-3-5. So if you want a major, like I said, it's 2 whole steps between the 1 and the 3, 1.5 steps between the 1 and the flat 3 for a minor chord or a minor arpeggio. Now, the arpeggio study, if you look at it, and if you don't really know your arpeggios yet, you don't know which arpeggio is which, okay? So I'll go through all that. The arpeggios are organized by the root form, which is from the 1, the first inversion, which is from the 3, and what I mean by that is the starting note is the 3 or the root, and then the second inversion is started from the 5. And each one of these starts on the 6th string, okay? So, for instance, a root form arpeggio would be. That's C major. C minor would be. So those are right over each other in the same spot. Same thing for the first inversion. Now I'll start from the E for C major. Just like that. Now here's the minor. All right. The major and the minor together played one after another is a pretty cool sound. And then here is the second inversion starting from the G, the 5. Now let's do minor. All right. It's a great way to practice. You want to add in that type of practice, the arpeggio practice, with your normal scale practice. Now, with the A minor arpeggio study that I attached in with my patrons, you've got various arpeggios. It doesn't just start on the root form arpeggio. It kind of goes through various ones. So the first thing you want to notice, let me play this thing and then we'll talk a little bit about it, okay? So if you notice the tab, it starts on the 8th fret. Now, what do you notice about that? Is it the same arpeggio all the way through? Does it kind of outline a few different chords? Is it outlining a chord progression? Yes, it is. Now, what are the chords that it's outlining? Okay, well, it's an A minor arpeggio study, so most likely that first arpeggio is going to be A minor. So I'll play the chords that you would play behind it. You know, basically, the chord progression for it, or what the arpeggios are outlining, are A minor, then G, then F, and then E major. So really, it's kind of an A harmonic minor chord progression. It's kind of like the Sultans of Swing. Same type progression, but Sultans of Swing is in D minor. So it's D minor, C, B flat, A. Same kind of thing. But this arpeggio study is A minor, G, F, E. So there's 4 chords in it, and then I'm playing various arpeggios that kind of work together melodically. Now, this first arpeggio I'm playing for A minor, okay, that's your first arpeggio, is a first inversion arpeggio, which means I started on the 3rd of A minor, which is C. So you've got, all right, next up, I've got G major, and that arpeggio is also a first inversion. I'm starting on the D though. I'm looking, what's happening is when you're playing these arpeggios, the last note of the arpeggio, you want to find the next closest note of the next arpeggio. So the last note for the A minor is E. So I know the 5 of G is D. Why not go to the D? So I go down the A minor, back up the G, right? Then next, I go to the first inversion of F. Then I go to the first inversion of E. All right, so the first 4 are pretty cool sound overall. Now, next, I'm at the G sharp, right? So I'll just go back to the A to start the whole progression over again, right? So now I'll come out of that E, back to the A. So that's a root form A minor pentatonic. I started at the A on the 5th fret. Next up, I'm going to go into a root form G major, but I'm going back up, so I'm going to start on the 3rd, but it's still the root form shape. Now I go down to the F. I play the F root form arpeggio. All right, I end on the A, so probably the next note that I go to will be the B for the first inversion E. And then I'll resolve back to the A there, right? So let me play the whole thing slowly for you. Now, what is this used for? It's used to build technique. It's used to organize your fretboard more. It's also used for ear training for each note, but also outlining each chord. So the more you practice this, eventually you'll be able to put some solos together where you're soloing through it without chords behind it, and it sounds like the way it's supposed to, but it really helps just overall with organization. You know, you're going to practice it with the metronome as 8th notes. So it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. You know, and then eventually after you get it down really well, get it in your playing, then add in other ideas with it. You know, add that bend. Now, of course, I'm ad-libbing. That went into the E. Yeah, slowly but surely you'll get kind of that chord progression in your head, and then you can just start going through playing different ideas over each individual chord, but still kind of staying in the in that A minor tonality. All right. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Definitely practice this arpeggio a bunch. It will really help your control, your reaction time, your technique, and it will really help with ear training also. All right. I'll be posting more soon.